Coming up today on Philadelphia 76ers. Now, is James Harden going to leave the 76ers after this year to return to the Houston Rockets? Has Joel Embiid been disrespected? And shout out to Mac McClung, no doubt the highlight of NBA All-Star Weekend. And now, can he crack a rotation spot on this Sixers team? Before we dive into all of that, to all my Philly Bulls out there who have subscribed, we appreciate you. If you haven't subscribed, you ain't alive, and that means that you're not subbed to the most informative, entertaining Sixers channel on YouTube. So for all of the latest Sixers talk, join the family. Let's get to 9,000 subs and hit that sub button down below. We begin with James Harden. Is he going to head back to H-Town after this year? There's growing buzz after that report that we talked about a couple of months ago that could happen. And should Sixers fans be worried about losing him in free agency this upcoming offseason? Kyle Neubeck and Elliot Shore-Park, shout out to them. They've collaborated for a really good podcast. It's called Clap Your Hands Pod. And they had this conversation about Harden. And Neubeck, who is arguably the best Sixers reporter in Philadelphia, said this: to me, this buzz feels legit. I think if the Sixers don't win it this year, I think Harden is getting overpaid by the Rockets to come home with that young talent. It feels like a very realistic possibility. And it's interesting for a couple of reasons, right? Because of how sour his tenure in H-Town ended up being toward the end of it. He demands a trade. He pouts about it. Bad body language. Gained weight. He gets traded to the Brooklyn Nets, and we know how that ended up. Him, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, they weren't together for long. He gets traded to the Sixers for Ben Simmons in a deal that the Sixers no doubt have won. But Harden came back on that one-year deal with that player option, and he took less money so that the Sixers could compete for a championship. And this year, he's played really, really good basketball, but could he look to cash in one more time, given he's put up these numbers this year and really rebounded from what was a lackluster down last 2 years, year and a half, if we want to be nicer. This year, he's been great. 21 points per game, nearly 11 dimes per night, 45% from the floor. Most importantly, though, 39% from three-point range. He's been great operating the two-man game with him and Joel Embiid. The pick and roll, the pick and pop game has been really good. He did what I told him he needed to do this offseason, and he's been much better stroking that three-point ball. But if he goes to the Houston Rockets, he returns to the place where he's going to go down as a Naismith Basketball Hall of Famer. And that Rockets team, they have a really intriguing, I'm not going to say great, intriguing young roster with Jalen Green, Alperen Şengün, Jabari Smith. And could he maximize some of the players on that team to try to get them back on track? The thing with the Rockets organization, they're kind of in an interesting spot here where John Wall has complained that there's no player accountability at all, and the culture doesn't seem to be great. It's Harden going to improve that, and could it improve if a legend comes back to H-Town to guide his former team? So let me ask you this. What is the percent chance you think that James Harden leaves the Sixers? Scale it for me, 1 to 100. 1, not going to happen. 100, definitely happening. That means that you believe the buzz. Let us know down in the comments section. As for what The Athletic said, they ranked it on a scale of 1 to 10, and Kelly Iko said, I'm putting it at a 7 out of 10. I think that where there's smoke, there's fire. James loves this city. He loves those guys on the roster, young players in Houston. He has ties to the city, businesses, his home is here, and crazier things have happened. Don't call me crazy, but you might be seeing something different. And I think for those reasons, he could go back. It is a possibility. And if the Sixers have another flame out in the playoffs, maybe he does go down to H-Town, back down south to guide that young roster. If you want to bet on the Sixers to win the NBA championship, if you want to bet on some James Harden over-unders, Joel Embiid to win MVP, bunch of NBA prop bets, make sure you do it with our sportsbook partner, BetUS, offering a 125% deposit bonus. Head to chatsports.com/bet, promo code chat125 for that deposit bonus. That means you put in $100, you get $125 back, $225 to game with during this great sports calendar month. Joel Embiid, is he being disrespected? He continues to get disrespected. I thought it was telling, though, that he was the first player selected in the All-Star Game draft and not Nikola Jokic. That means that the players believe Embiid is the better dude. ESPN's latest MVP straw poll has Jokic as the clear frontrunner for his third straight MVP. This feels like back in the early 2000s when Shaq, Kobe, at points in his career, over the last 2 decades, LeBron James, they've been disrespected when it comes to the MVP voting. I'm not sure what Joel Embiid has to do, but if he wins a championship, who gives a fuck about the MVP, honestly? I get fired up about this subject matter, but here's the straw poll results from ESPN. Joker 1, Giannis 2, Embiid 3, Jason Tatum at 4. He could vault up those rankings, in my opinion. I mean, the Celtics have been the best team in the NBA all throughout this year, and then Luka Doncic checking in at number 5. And here's the thing with Embiid. Started his career, didn't play early for a couple of seasons because of those injuries. And yes, injuries have been a lingering issue for him throughout his NBA career. But you cannot deny how special this guy is. The fact that he is one of one, that he has the physical nature to overpower you like Shaquille O'Neal, and he moves with grace like Hakeem Olajuwon for a big, and sometimes he could dribble the basketball and hit step backs like a wing. Joker ain't doing that. Donovan Mitchell saying this, I think Joel needs to be highly regarded as well. I think he gets highly disrespected. Thank you, D-Mitch. He's a guy that consistently, every night, puts on for his group, and even in the past year, with the whole Ben Simmons situation, not knowing who was going to be on the floor, he continuously carried his team. You want to see what carrying your team looks like? That's what Joel Embiid's been able to do here in 2022-23. Hopefully that foot injury is okay. 45 games played. Let's cross our fingers, please, that Embiid is at least close to 100% for the NBA playoffs. 33 points per game this year. 10 rebounds. Nearly 53% from the floor with volume, and a guy who's 7+ feet, stroking it 35% from beyond the arc. I think he's disrespected. Are you with me? If that's the case, give me a Y for yes. If not, N for no, and explain why. Do want to give a shout out to Mac McClung before we hop on out of here. It's only right. A guy took over NBA All-Star Weekend, won the dunk contest for Philadelphia, and put on for the Sixers as Philadelphia was finally, wink, wink, able to end its championship drought after over the last calendar month, the Union lost a title, the Phillies lost a title, and the Eagles lost a title. Obviously, this isn't a championship. I'm kidding. If you didn't get the sarcasm, come on now. But some of the pictures, fantastic from Mac McClung. What I thought was really impressive, other than it's really cool to see a guy who's like listed at 6'2", but might look 6 foot, get up the way that he does, but also not need the retries. And because of that, I think that's why in every round but, 2, he was able to receive 50s across the board. And for those of you who are surprised that Mac McClung won the dunk contest, come on now. Did you see what he did at Gate City in West Virginia growing up when he was a high school basketball phenom? This guy, in somewhat of the early stages of YouTube, was an absolute YouTube sensation. So for him to have this hardware and to go from like 100,000 IG followers all the way up to 1 million overnight because he won doesn't surprise me at all. He went from going from the G League, turning down offers overseas, to having some of the most noteworthy basketball players surrounding him and celebrating him winning that championship. And obviously that viral video that went out, you got to drug test this dude. That was pretty hilarious as well. So his jersey number is number 9. Not a lot of people knew that or know that. Let's see if he cracks the Sixers rotation. I hope so. Coming in off the bench, little point guard with wiggle, good athleticism, can't really defend much, but show Mac McClung some love. Get him some playing time after this. Type 9 down in the comment section. And as always, thanks for rocking with us here on 76ers Now.